New Brunswick Power faces a monumental challenge. The public utility is currently burdened with approximately $5.7 billion in accumulated debt. This is not a distant, abstract number. It is a weight that directly impacts the financial stability of the utility and the wallets of every person in the province. The problem is growing. More than just the existing debt, the utility faces enormous future costs, including the multi-billion-dollar refurbishment of the Mactaquac Dam, a project whose funding is not yet fully secured. This combination of past financial obligations and future capital needs has created a perfect storm, pushing NB Power into a difficult corner where its only clear path forward seems to be through continuous and significant rate increases. This situation did not develop overnight. A series of historical decisions, fluctuating energy markets, investments in aging infrastructure, have contributed to the slow but steady accumulation of this massive debt load. Executives at the utility have openly stated they are racking their brains for solutions, signaling the seriousness of the financial predicament. The status quo is no longer sustainable, a sentiment echoed by Premier Susan Holt, who has noted the more than 20% increase in rates over just the past 2 years. This context makes it clear that simply continuing down the current path is not an acceptable option for the province or its people, who are already feeling the strain of rising costs. The immediate consequence of this debt is a series of planned rate hikes that will place an even greater burden on customers. NB Power has already announced its intention to seek a 4.75% rate increase for 2026. The utility has also projected further increases of 6.5% in 2027 and 6.5% in 2028. These are not small changes. They represent a sustained pattern of rising electricity costs that will compound year after year. For families and businesses trying to budget for the future, this creates a climate of uncertainty and financial pressure, making it harder to manage household expenses and plan for long-term stability. The urgency of the situation has prompted a comprehensive review. A 3-person panel has been tasked with exploring every possible option to address the debt with a clear mandate that nothing is off the table. Their final recommendations, expected by the end of March 2026, carry the weight of public expectation. The people of New Brunswick are looking for more than just another temporary fix or a plan that merely shifts the burden from one group to another without addressing the root cause. They are looking for a fair, sustainable, and long-term strategy that will stabilize the utility, protect ratepayers from endless price shocks, and ensure a reliable energy future for the entire province. The $5.7 billion debt held by NB Power, far more than a line item on a corporate balance sheet. It is a direct and growing threat to the financial well-being of New Brunswick families. When a public utility carries this level of debt, the primary mechanism for paying it down is through the rates it charges customers. Every dollar of debt service, including interest payments, must be covered by revenue. This means rising debt directly translates into higher monthly electricity bills for everyone. For an average family, this is not a minor inconvenience. It means less money available for groceries, childcare, transportation, savings, forcing difficult choices and adding stress to household budgets. The impact is felt most acutely by those with the least capacity to absorb higher costs. Low-income households, seniors on fixed incomes, people living in rural or remote areas. For these vulnerable groups, a significant increase in their power bill can be the difference between making ends meet and falling into financial hardship. Electricity is not a luxury. It is an essential service needed for heating, cooking, and daily life. When its cost rises relentlessly, it deepens inequality and places the heaviest burden on those who can least afford it. One of the most direct solutions being considered is to nationalize a portion of NB Power's debt by transferring it to the provincial government's books. This means taxpayers, rather than just ratepayers, would become responsible for servicing that part of the debt. The rationale is that bond rating agencies already view NB Power's debt as implicitly backed by the province, so a formal transfer might not negatively impact the government's credit rating. The primary benefit is immediate relief for ratepayers, as it would reduce the pressure for steep rate hikes. The risk, however, is that this simply moves the cost from electricity bills to general taxes, and it increases the overall public debt that future generations will have to manage. A second, complementary path involves seeking strategic financial support from the federal government. This could be achieved through partnerships with entities like the Canada Infrastructure Bank, which has already committed $12.6 million for pre-development work on the Mactaquac project. Securing larger federal investments or low-interest loans for major capital projects would significantly reduce the amount NB Power needs to borrow from private markets. This would lower financing costs and, in turn, ease the upward pressure on rates. The benefit is using federal resources to solve a provincial problem, but it requires strong political negotiation and depends on Ottawa's willingness to participate on a larger scale. A third option involves a fundamental shift in strategy, focusing on demand-side management to reduce the need for expensive new power plants. Energy experts have suggested that instead of building new generation capacity, NB Power could invest more aggressively in programs that help customers use less electricity. Enhanced rebates for heat pumps, better incentives for home insulation, smart grid technologies that encourage off-peak energy use. The benefit is a long-term reduction in both customer bills and the utilities costs. The primary risk is that these programs require significant upfront investment, and their success depends on widespread public participation to achieve the necessary demand reduction. A fourth, more controversial, solution is the sale of certain assets or the formation of public-private partnerships. Selling a power plant or another part of the utility's operations could generate a large, one-time influx of cash to pay down a significant chunk of the debt. Alternatively, partnering with a private company on a major project like Mactaquac could share the financial risk. However, this path carries the risk of losing public control over essential infrastructure, which could lead to a focus on profit over public service and potentially impact jobs and service quality in the long run. Finally, any comprehensive plan must include robust protections for the most vulnerable customers. This would involve creating targeted relief programs, such as energy bill credits for low-income households, more flexible payment plans, dedicated funds to help seniors and families invest in energy efficiency measures. The benefit is a more equitable outcome that prevents the energy transition from placing an unbearable burden on those least able to afford it. The cost would be funded through either general revenue or a small, dedicated charge spread across all ratepayers, ensuring the burden is shared. When facing a problem of this magnitude, it is wise to look at how other jurisdictions have navigated similar challenges. About 2 decades ago, Ontario undertook a massive restructuring of its electricity system to deal with what was then known as stranded debt, old, uneconomic assets on the books of its public utility. The Ontario government restructured the sector, moved a significant portion of these stranded assets and associated debt off the balance sheets, and managed it through a separate provincial agency. This allowed the newly formed generation and distribution companies to start with healthier finances, shielding ratepayers from the full cost of past decisions. This example offers valuable lessons for New Brunswick, though it is not a perfect template. The process was complex, politically difficult, took years, and shifted significant costs to taxpayers. Each proposed solution for NB Power has distinct benefits and risks that must be weighed. Transferring debt to the taxpayer provides immediate rate relief, but increases public debt. Seeking federal aid leverages national resources, but relies on external political will. Selling assets offers a quick cash infusion, but risks long-term public control. Investing in demand reduction saves money over time, but requires upfront capital and behavior change. Each path is a trade-off. There is no painless solution. The challenge for policymakers is finding the right combination. The ultimate decision will balance short-term needs against long-term consequences. For instance, selling an asset might seem like a quick fix, but decision-makers must consider if long-term revenue loss outweighs short-term debt reduction. Similarly, raising taxes to cover the debt might be unpopular, but could be more equitable than crippling rate hikes on low-income families. The review panel and government must transparently evaluate these trade-offs, show the public who would pay and who would benefit under each scenario to build the consensus needed for bold action. The time for incremental adjustments and wishful thinking is over. The $5.7 billion debt at NB Power is a provincial crisis. It demands a provincial solution, one built on the principle of fairness, one built on shared responsibility, one built on decisive action. The burden of fixing this problem cannot be placed solely on ratepayers. Years of relentless and punishing rate increases would be cruel. Such a path would harm families, and it would harm businesses. It would also fail to address the structural issues that created the debt. A more balanced and creative approach is urgently needed. The best path likely involves a carefully crafted blend of solutions. This could mean transferring a manageable portion of legacy debt to the provincial government to stabilize rates, while pursuing an aggressive partnership with the Canada Infrastructure Bank for Mactaquac refurbishment. At the same time, NB Power must be mandated to roll out ambitious energy efficiency and demand reduction programs that empower customers to lower their own bills. This multi-pronged strategy spreads the burden fairly to taxpayers, to the federal government, and to the utility itself, rather than concentrating it all on the ratepayer. A critical element is protecting New Brunswick's most vulnerable citizens. There must be a concrete, well-funded program to shield low-income households and to protect seniors from energy poverty. This is not just compassion, it is a matter of justice. A fair solution ensures costs don't fall hardest on those least able to pay. This commitment to equity must be non-negotiable in the review panel's recommendations, and it must be enacted by the government. The people of New Brunswick now look to their leaders for clarity, for courage, and for a concrete plan. The Comprehensive Review Panel has a historic opportunity to chart a new course for NB Power, one that moves away from the unsustainable cycle of debt and rate hikes. Their recommendations must be fact-based, transparent, and bold. The provincial government must then act with conviction and speed to balance the books without breaking household budgets. This is a moment that calls for true leadership, the kind that confronts a difficult problem head-on and forges a solution that serves the common good for generations to come. Stop rate hikes, the plan to fix NB Power's $5.7 billion debt. Take action now.